Hey everybody, welcome back. Long time no see. I've been busy, but I haven't been productive. I've been working a bunch and then went on vacation, and then between all that, the time I do have off, I'm not really looking to work on anything here. At least I have been working on a Samurai at home, but we're back today and we're working on something different. This is my 4Runner. The camper hasn't had any love since you've seen it last. I know a lot of you guys are here for the camper. It will be making a return. I haven't even weatherproofed it, and it's been snowing here, so it's my bad. I've just been lazy, but we'll get back to it. But this is my 4Runner. It's a pile. It's on 40s, STT Pros. It's got 488 E-lockers front and rear, high pinion E-locker front, and we're putting dual cases in it right now. So that's why it's in the shop. We're trying to get ready for snow. And I figured, since it is a fabrication channel, or at least that's what I'm calling it, I want to kind of get branched out onto the other things I work on all the time. So I am doing a Turbo Samurai right now. I do plan on putting that on the channel a little bit. I've just been kind of putting pieces together, so that's been taking some time. But this thing is kind of priority. I'll include a picture. This thing used to be really nice, but now it is, well, that. It went on its side one night after a few too many drinks, and it didn't end up too well. So here we are, but now we're putting some dual cases in it. This is the original R150 that came out, and in here we have one hell of a setup. This is a mess. Don't look at that. It will look much better. I've been rewiring a bunch of stuff. Got it all plumbed up into here. Obviously doesn't work yet. There's no battery on it, but that's all been rewired. And now there is a R151, which is a turbo tranny. Has a 430 first gear, 228 or 223, I always forget, crawl box, and then a 4.7 rear. There's comp outputs, 23 all spline inputs, almost everything you can do to these cases, except for I didn't do the HD cases, and luckily I saved a bit of money. I actually bought them already assembled, so threw a new input in it, the 23 all spline input, and then trying to get this all mocked up. The crossmember I bought that came with all this is actually for a 4-cylinder. I was unsure how things are going to line up, because with this being technically a R series 4-cylinder transmission, for anyone who knows anything about them, they're just turbo transmissions. They only came in the turbo pickups from 86 and 87, so they're hard to find. There's not a lot of information out there about them. So I just didn't know what crossmember I was going to need. This being a V6 truck, I just was hoping that the 4-cylinder one would work. But you can see here I have the factory V6 crossmember up, and it's bolted up to my crawl box. So I tried to mount that crossmember on, and it would not fit. It sat about 3 inches forward. So what I'm doing now, because those are about 450 bucks brand new, and I'm not looking to try to buy one due to the fact no one will want to buy mine, we are going to cut this whole rib off of each side and slide it back about those 3 inches, 2.5 inches, whatever it may be. So my plan is to cut it, bolt this back up to the transfer case, bolt this onto the frame, and then I'm going to tack it real heavy where it needs to be tacked, and then I'll go ahead and I'll bring it back down and I'll weld it out. I'm gonna probably do 3 passes on each side, on the top and bottom, and then on each side, and then I'll grind one side smooth and I'll put a gusset on the outside. I don't want this breaking on me way out in the middle of nowhere. I don't believe it'll happen, but I want to make sure. I could burn a new one out at work, but by the time I spent all the time programming it and possibly not being right, and then on top of that trying to find a big enough rem piece of 3/8, it's just worth it for me to cut it and move it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. My little tripod thing, handheld phone holder is broke, so we're back with the old camera angle. Sorry about that. And we'll go ahead and get this cut, and I'll bring you back after I have it all bolted up. We're back. As always, things take longer than it's supposed to. So I ended up fighting the motor mounts. My motor was tweaked to the driver's side because the passenger side mount broke. Again, I think I've broken probably 4 of those. It's my own fault. I haven't really ever had a cross member on the transmission that was super tight. There's only 1 bolt on that, so it would allow it to torque really bad. That was negligence of maintenance. So I ended up putting bomb-proof mounts on it. That was a pain to do, but they're in there. Getting the main bolt on the inside and the motor mount here. And here is probably one of the most annoying bolts on the truck. I had to use a combination of several different wrenches to get it, but it is done. Motor mounts are in. It sits nice and level now. Pay no attention to the wiring. I've learned a lot over my years. I wish I could restart this, but I will someday. So we got the cross member all tacked up now, and I'll show you the tunnel in here. I know it's a little bit dark, but cleaned up the edges. I'm happy with how everything works. I got triple sticks here, so this linkage needs to come forward, and it sits well above the tunnel height, so I'll have to make a tunnel, which is fine. You can see how far forward this shifter came. So that's one thing I also had to do. I had to dogleg the shifter quite a bit. It did come up and come out at an angle, but the angle was nowhere near enough. So I put a whole lot more in it, and it just barely clears. But this is with the transfer case where it's supposed to be height-wise. You can see I got a little bit of a gap here. So that's perfect, plenty of room. And then this is what I did here. So you can see I cut this, and I cut it right where the mounts, or the angle of the mounts meets the flat plate. And what I plan on doing with these extra bits sticking out, so I'm going to cut that off, actually move it to the front so I have the full length on it still. And the same with back here. I might just kind of bend that one up and weld it to the rear there. It'll be fine. But as you can see, this is now a 4-cylinder cross member holding up V6 dual cases. And once it's all welded out, it'll be perfect. That saved me $450, so a couple hours worth of work. It's well worth it. I'm going to stitch out a little bit of that while it's tight and up on the truck to try to hold it. I'll let it cool, and then I'll drop it down and we'll weld it out on the ground, and I'll bring you back when I'm getting ready to weld it, because I want to show you what I'm doing to stop it from warping. So be right back. Okay, we got that down off the truck. Now I've tacked some bars on it. I'd say tacked. I stitch welded some pretty heavy tubing on this cross member where the mounting location is. And the reason I did that is because 3/8 will warp a lot when you have to put a lot of heat to it. So I put some pretty heavy stitches on it, and this is probably 1/8 inch, maybe a 3/16 tube. I'd say 1/8 inch, but that I have no problem with holding it, keeping it solid and stopping it from warping. I didn't get a chance to stitch it while I was on the truck. It would have been overhead. I thought I was going to be able to get up in here and weld it, but the transfer case is right in the way. So I just carefully took it down, and I put those bars on it, clamped them so it kept everything flat when I was welding it. And now we're good to weld this out. I'd like to get you guys like a little time lapse of me welding, but again, I broke my little stand. So we're going to go ahead and bring it back once I have this welded. I'm going to do a root pass on each side one at a time. So I'll do this one, then that one, then I'll flip it and do the other side of this one, the other side of that one. And then I'll probably let it cool for a little bit, and then I'll go back over it and do 2 more passes on each side. I will say, if I feel like I need it, on each side of that weld back into the parent material. We'll see how it looks. I think I probably won't need to do that, especially considering I plan on building a kind of a gusset plate for it to go on the outside. So we'll see how it looks, and I'll bring you right back. Okay, we got the first pass done on these. I just want to show you guys, turn this off, it's quite loud. But I just want to show you guys how good this little Harbor Freight welder works. Well, it's not a little one, it's actually the big one, but this is 3/8, which is technically the max it says it can do with 035 wire, but a lot of that's just in your speed. I beveled these at about 30 degrees. I don't think I showed that. That's gonna be tricky because this thing is heavy. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. But you can see that bevel. This is just one pass on this. And I know some people don't like the little pattern in it, but it is what it is. But you can see how much heat goes into that. Just in that 3/8. I had to do that one in 2 spots there, but you can see the penetration coming through. It's just really impressive how good this little welder is. But anyways, I'm going to flip it over and weld this side out. And then once I get this side welded out, with how it's looking, I don't really think I'm going to end up putting multiple passes over. I'll just do that little fish plate like I was talking about, and we'll call it good. Then I got to, like I said, probably cut this here and then move this piece up here so it kind of ties back in, and I'll bend this one back so it wraps with that, and then I'll fill that in a little bit. Not really worried about this extra here. This is where the driveline comes out, and I'll have to see if the driveline's going to clear. It should, because this is in the same spot as it would be on a 4-cylinder as far as the skid plate, but it just looks a little finicky, a little close. So I'm going to weld this out. I'll probably get those cut and moved before I bring you back, and then we'll put it back up there for a test fit. Okay, so we got this little end cut off, and I have shaped it a little bit to fit in here. So again, that was sticking out here, and this has kind of cut off the corner of it, and then rebent it and tacked it up in there. That'll fill in nicely. I had a little bit of a ground clamp issue that I didn't realize. My nut was loose on there, so tighten that. I am going to make 3 passes on the bottom. On the top, I'm going to leave it, and then here I also wrap that around. So now I got to weld that out. Going to go ahead and get these last couple passes done on this. I'm happy with how it's turning out. I honestly don't even think I need to plate the top. There's so much weld on this. I ground those bevels down to where there's about a 1/16 of material out of 3/8 that was still just flat. The rest was all bevels. So and that's a lot of weld, and normally weld's stronger than the metal around it. So I'm going to go ahead and weld this the rest of the way out, and I'll assess from there if I want to put some plates on the outside, but I'll bring you right back. All right, well, I finished that video yesterday, and we're here today redoing it. When I was editing it, I didn't quite like it. So we're back today. I'm going to show you the last little couple things I did on it, how I welded it up, and now it's all painted and done. I'll show you a little bit more of the interior. So here you can see my triple sticks. I'm not sure what company they are. They might be All Pro. The guy I got them from originally had already tweaked the rear case. So for those of you who don't know, this is that linkage would mount up to here. There's another linkage right there that'd go from here to here. And that basically makes your top shift forward, so that way instead of having 2 sticks here and 1 stick here, all 3 are more centrally located. A little bit cleaner of a look, but requires a little bit more work. The problem I'm facing is that that center stick, I've already bent it a little bit, but it needs bent more because of how my shifter sits. Being that this is a turbo trans and not made for this truck, for this 4Runner, it's 3 inches more towards the intermediate plate of the transmission. So I had to dog leg it since it came out underneath the radio bezel. And now that it's got a big dog leg in it, it comes into that high-low shifter for the crawl box. So I got to fix that. That's not that big of a deal. I just need to tweak it a little bit more. Put it in the vise with some oxyacetylene on it and just pull it over. Because if you smack it, it'll start to kind of bend in different ways. Ask me how I know. So the interior is just about wrapped up. I have to build a kind of a trans tunnel cover for it. Probably won't make it removable, but these come up at such a slope. Get the breather out of there, might be able to get this up. So these come up at such a slope that you have to have it pretty high. And this is how the trail gear, well, even stock cross members, they sit up this high really. So I have to be able to build up some sort of slope to that. So it's gonna be tricky to come from the slope and then tie it back into here. We'll just see how that works out. But eventually this is gonna get flat bellied and the rear heat's gonna have to go and everything else. So for right now, we'll band-aid it, make it look nice, make it work. So I'll take you underneath, crawl under here, and you can see I was talking about doing kind of a plate on it, and I decided against that just because I did the root pass, and then I did 2 passes on the outside into the parent material and into the root pass, and then I weaved one big one over it and ground it down. And I wrapped this corner like I was telling you I would, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's more than stout. You can see I moved this piece up into here. I got like an inch of weld on like a 3/8 gap or 3/8 bevel there, so I have no concerns with it. It's also welded on the top like I showed you, so I'm very happy with it. It's all the way, or it's centered here, but it's all the way maxed out over here, and that shouldn't even matter. See, this is what welds used to look like. But that shouldn't matter due to the fact that the pinion's offset anyways from center. Basically what's happening is, even though I'm trying to slide it all the way over, I'm about a 1/2 inch off center this way. And I just don't foresee it being a problem with that pinion being the way it is, as long as it's square with the pinion, the output is. But there's only one way to find out. Worst case, I have to oblong those holes more. It's kind of a pain in the butt, so I don't want to do it if I don't have to. My next project is to measure, or not measure, I already have the measurement, it's 32 inches, but I have to make a front drive line from this flange to this flange. And I have one already that's a long slip, which is because I have so much droop in my suspension, you have to have a longer spline on it. So I already have one that's 33 inches compressed. I need it to be shorter. So I'm gonna try to take out the cardan. If I can't take out the double cardan, then I will go ahead and have it shortened. In order to get my final measurement, I'm going to go ahead and put the front tire on the lift here and then pick it up as high as it can go till it maxes out. I don't have any bump stops. You can see it just crashes into the frame. But I'm going to go ahead and pick that up, get my tightest measurement on the drive line. I figured it'll probably be about 29 inches, and I'll cut my drive line down to where it's probably about 28.5, so that way there's still a 1/2 inch of give, and then the rest will be down travel because that suspension droops out so far. But just wanted to wrap it up, do a little bit better of a conclusion on everything. I'm going to finish up what I need to do, and the next video I'll probably show a little bit of that tunnel, getting that tunnel done, and hopefully probably installing the drive lines, and then hopefully some snow wheeling this weekend. So appreciate you guys watching. Merry Christmas. Thanks for tuning back in. Sorry it's been so long. Camper progress will be soon. I know I've said that before, but you guys want progress, I want progress, so it'll happen. But I appreciate you for watching. Have a good one.